Hi, I'm Amy from Concordia Supply. It's a great day at Concordia Supply because our good friend Sharon Stratmoen from Group Publishing is here. She comes every year to train our staff on their 3 VBS programs. And it's always great fun for our team when Sharon comes. So welcome to the offices.
I love coming here. It's my once a year journey. And when you come from Minnesota and you get to come to California, that's an added bonus.
Yeah. Can I tell them you've been doing VBS for how many years?
This coming summer will be year 39.
Wow.
It's a lot of VBSs.
It is. I feel like if there's anyone to ask all the how-to questions about VBS and being a VBS director, it's Sharon Stratmoen. You might know her from the training videos if you've ever done a group VBS. You might know her from the fun shops, their annual trainings that they do this time of the year. They're ongoing right now.
They actually launch February 28th.
Yeah. How many of them are there out there?
There will be 38 across the country.
Wow. And tell us a little bit about your fun shops.
Sure. So a VBS Fun Shop is a time for directors and station leaders to come to a local church, and one of our group ambassadors will be there to lead the training. One of my favorite parts of my job is I get to create the training and train our team of trainers who go out across the country. And you bring your team. It's not geared for your crew leaders. It's really geared for your station leaders, your directors, or people who are decorating, because you get to see a lot of things up close and personal. And people get to experience a day at Rainforest Falls VBS, and they get to see and network and do all kinds of things. And my biggest takeaway is that your team leaves so excited, ready to plunge into all the details for Rainforest Falls VBS.
Yeah. And I feel like because you are so experienced in VBS from the training aspect, but even doing it at your own church, preschool director at your local church?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So she knows everything about the little kids. You probably know all the tricks, the highs, the lows of planning. If you could name a number one tip for any director, but maybe new VBS directors, what's something you could share with them as a word of encouragement or a tip?
Sure. I would say as a new VBS director, I would first get your cup of coffee, your water, whatever, get your kit and just go through everything. Read that director's go-to guide. Also watch the high-level training videos, the how it works, so you get an understanding of what you're stepping into. Look at it first and then start diving deeper. Take the 50,000-foot look first. Get into that director go-to guide, watch the how it works video, because that paints a really quick picture of what you're going to be stepping into at Rainforest Falls.
Yeah. What's a common trip hazard for directors as they're getting started in their planning?
Are we again talking about new directors or?
Sure. Let's talk new directors.
Okay. So if you're a new director, I encourage you to look at the program and do it as it's written the first time. I think about when I cook and I try a new recipe, the first time I go to is I'm going to make it as it is, because how do I know I don't like this ingredient if I've never made it before? And we field test our VBS programs with real kids, real leaders at a church, and we try to take out any of the things that aren't successful. And so I like to let people try it first and then decide if there's anything that you really need to tweak. And one way that I do that at my church is if we're going to do something different, I'll say, okay, like last year, we did 2 sessions of VBS, Amy, a morning and an evening, because we had so many kids. We'd outgrown our worship space and we had a little building project going. And so we were like, okay, we're going to try this. We're going to try it this year. And if it doesn't work, we won't do it next year. But we had to step out of our comfort zone and do it a little bit differently.
What's a typical challenge that a VBS director is going to run into in their first year or maybe first 3 years of planning VBS?
I think we cannot do VBS without volunteers. And so I think sometimes a first-time director might think, I can do it all. We can't do it all. We need to get a team put together to be successful. We really need to have, be the director and then have your station leaders and have a core team that's going to help share the burden of planning. Because if a director tries to plan it all by themselves, you're going to get burned out. You're going to be exhausted. You're going to be really tired. And you're not going to have as much fun. God created us to be in relationship with one another. And so to build a core team of people that are going to help co-plan your VBS, for sure, a number one thing to do.
Yeah. I found that for volunteers, it's a great way to get people who may be new to your church community involved. And what a fun way to get involved and get to know people through VBS, working with kids. Great opportunity.
Absolutely. I recently did an announcement at my church to launch our volunteers for Rainforest Falls. And I said, you know what? If you love Jesus, love kids and read, you can serve. And if you don't want to be direct with kids, we have take-home projects. You can work on their set. There's a spot for everybody at VBS. And I really see it as a community building event for the entire church. Everyone gets to be involved in VBS in some shape or form. And you know what? If you can't give your time the week of VBS, there's always supplies that we need, snack donations, and maybe you have a limited budget and you want to get those Bible buddies or student books, and somebody else could bless your VBS by sharing some resources so churches can stretch their budget to be able to purchase those things.
Yeah, good. So what's a way to inspire people to participate? I think sometimes people at the church will hold back a little bit. What's a great way to invite them and actually encourage them to participate?
I think one thing is to cast the vision of what VBS is. Why do we do it? You have to have the why, and how important it is. VBS is still the number one reason, or the number one event where kids give their life to Jesus. And so casting that net out there to say, that's why we do it. We want kids to know, love, and serve Jesus. And I think one of the easiest ways to get involved is to be a crew leader. If you're a crew leader, you don't have to prepare anything. You have a small group of 5 kids that you're shepherding through the stations. You get to come love on kids. And that's like an easy first step in, because you're not a station leader. You're not up in front of all of the people of your VBS. It's one leader with 5 kids, very manageable. And group gives you a lot of resources that your director can use to equip you and have you be successful in that role.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about budgets.
Yes.
I don't think any VBS director has unlimited resources. They've got to make choices. So what's the best bang for your buck with the limited budgets that you have?
I like to think about this. I know all of the people who do VBS, we all love the decorations and the environment. When else can we take over the church, right, Amy? We get the whole church VBS week. But at the end of VBS, my church included, we partner with other churches. The decorations get taken down, they get passed off to the next church. But what goes home with kids is what's going to make that lasting impact, reminding them of the Bible stories, the science experiments. And so I would say those key student resources of the Bible book, the Bible buddies. And then if you can get the music to families, that everybody loves music, and music is one of the easiest ways to get faith into the home. So I would say focus on those key student resources, Bible buddies, the student book. This year, it's the Book of Psalms Bible book. And then for preschool, if you do preschool, which that's my wheelhouse, is the preschool Bible pages.
That's wonderful. That's gold right there.
Right there. And you want to, and then of course, Imagination Station, in order to do those sciencey fun gizmos, you're going to have those student packs for that. And this year in Imagination Station, there are some really amazing experiments that kids get to take home and show their parents how to do them at home, that's exciting too.
Yeah, that's fun. So we've kind of launched into the VBS 2026 themes. She's been mentioning some resources out of Rainforest Falls VBS. So let's talk a little bit, maybe high level, of group publishing producing 3 different VBS programs each summer. What's the difference between the 3?
That's a great question. So we have our Easy VBS, which is this summer, the theme is Rainforest Falls. That is a 5-day program. It has an elementary and a preschool component to it, and it's a 3-hour program. And so you have this environment that's fun and inviting. We're creating this tropical rainforest where kids are going to dig into discovering the nature of God. Our second VBS, that's also 5 days, is our Holy Land Adventure line. And this year we are stepping back in Bible times to Rome, and Paul is going to be teaching about the underground church. And that is a 5-day program. It's 2.5 hours. If you need a 3-hour program, people can add 5 minutes. But there you're really creating that Bible times culture where you're going to step back into the culture, the sights, the sounds, the tastes of what it was like to walk back in Bible times. Very different feel than our Rainforest Falls, because back in Bible times, you did things a little bit differently. The pace is a little slower. But the thing I love about our Holy Land Adventure is it really challenges kids to think what it was like back in Bible times, and that what they're reading in the Bible actually happened. It's amazing.
And then there's a third one.
There is. Our weekend VBS was designed for churches who've maybe never done VBS before. Maybe they don't feel like they have enough volunteers or enough resources. And that is a 2-day, 2.5 hour program with an opportunity for a 15-minute all church celebration like on a Sunday morning. And it uses our small groups of crews. It has 2 Bible stories, but it only has 1 Bible point. Since it's just 2 days, we have 1 Bible point. And there are a lot of churches that are a mobile church, so they don't have a building that they can go to. And this is a great VBS where you can do it in a day. You can do the day 1 in the morning, have a lunch, and then go to day 2 in the afternoon. And you can still have an amazing VBS experience for your church when you have to go and rent that space out that you normally wouldn't have.
Got it. All right. So 3 to choose from. All 3 are great. But let's dig in a little deeper on some of them. Let's start with Group's Easy VBS, Rainforest Falls VBS. What's unique about Rainforest Falls?
Well, one unique thing about not just Rainforest Falls, but any group VBS is our learning philosophy of real. Everything is going to be highly relational, experiential, applicable, and we are going after that lifelong relationship with Jesus. And so what does that look like in Rainforest Falls? That means that kids are going to get together in small groups called crews. Now, that may be very different for churches if they're used to age-graded classrooms. And the reason we do that is we know that faith grows deeper out of a relationship. When you can call a kid by name, when you've got 1 leader and 5 kids, that's very different. So have that crew role versus a classroom role. I think another thing that's very different is we have a couple of rotations that are really unique. Lots of VBSs have openings and closings and Bible, but we have Imagination Station, which is a science-based rotation that takes the Bible point, and focuses in a very creative way. STEM experience is very popular in schools today, and kids love going into that. And the reason we stepped away from crafts was just the excitement and discovery of science and how that really draws kids in. And they are just so excited about it. And I see the leaders be excited about it when I'm training leaders. We're like, wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So that's a really unique differentiator. And I think another unique station for us is sticky scripture. We know that as children's leaders, we want kids to be getting into God's word and not just reading words or memorizing words, but really understanding and being able to apply it to their lives. And sticky scripture uses an environment that goes with the theme. So we're in the jungle, we're ziplining this year, and there's whole body learning going on where kids are playing a game with a video screen, like a TV, that's connecting to that Bible truth of the day. And then they're opening up God's word in the Bible book and learning how to navigate their Bible through the Bible. And that's just very intentional and very unique. So really with a group VBS, you're getting double Bible because you've got Bible adventures and then you've got sticky scripture. And I got to say this, double Bible, double impact, right?
Yes.
So that's really unique.
I even love the name of the station. It tells directors what its purpose is, not just Bible memory, rote memorization. It almost says so many fun activities kids can't help but remember those Bible truths, not just for the next day, but for the next week and months, and hopefully for a lifetime.
Absolutely. And, we have a Bible point that is mentioned at every one of the rotations. And within a rotation, kids are saying that Bible point 7, 9 times. And there is research that proves that when you experience something and then you say something, you're going to retain it long after that day, that moment that you've had that. And in my own ministry, having been in churches for 30, more close to 40 years now, I have kids come back that'll hear a verse and they're like, I remember that from VBS, or they'll hear a song and it just brings it all back. That repetition cements learning. Yeah. But it's not just memorizing, it's experiencing something that helps trigger our mind to remember that Bible truth or that Bible point.
Yeah. Let me ask a completely different question. It comes about entrusting the VBS program. I know that group publishing does field testing before they release it to the public. Tell us a little bit of the why behind field testing and the trust that it can develop for VBS directors.
Sure. So for more than 30 some years, we have been testing our VBS programs, and we want to make sure that what people are getting in the can, the box, or whatever really is going to work, because we don't want directors to have to spend time going, oh, well, that didn't work. It was a good idea on paper, but we really try to take out all of that by field testing. So when you gather real kids at a real church and we bring in real VBS leaders to come and be a part of that, we get to really test out. And sometimes we try one thing on one rotation and then we're trying something else on the next rotation, because we want to be good stewards of churches' resources. And when you get your Vacation Bible School, we want to make sure that it's going to work and that it's going to really impact kids, not just for that week, but long after VBS.
Yeah. So let's talk about Group's Holy Land Adventure series this summer of 2026. It's Rome VBS. We're going back in time. Tell us a little bit about this unique VBS that's personally one of my favorites.
Yes. Well, one of the amazing things about our Holy Land is that you literally get to transform your church without getting on a plane and taking your kids and families to Rome. No passports required. And I love that it's just fully immersive. It's the environment that you're creating. It's kids get to wear Bible time costumes if they want to. It's eating the foods from back then. It's smelling the smells. It's just a fully immersive experience. And it literally, for kids who've never probably been to back in Bible times, it's life-changing because the Bible literally comes to life. When I was in college, I got to go to Israel. It was like going to the Sea of Galilee. My Bible was in full color right then and there. And I think that's what happens when you use our Holy Land Adventures. It just comes to life. And the best teacher in the world is teaching. It's Paul. He is teaching about the underground church. And there's somebody that will be costume and play that role of Paul all through the week.
Why were churches in an underground setting back at that time?
Well, because back in that day, you would be persecuted if you were a Christian. So, they had all these really cool things where they would draw one shape of a fish. And then if you were a Christian to say hi, they would finish it out. And so kids really get to go and be in the underground church and hover underneath and just feel what that's like. And you know what? Our culture right now in our world today is a lot like that. There's a lot going on. And sometimes to say you're a Christian isn't always appreciated.
So what's one of your favorite parts of Rome VBS?
Well, aside from being under the teaching of Paul, I would have to say going out into the marketplace, because that's where you get to become apprentices in the woodworking, in the jewelry shop, in the leather shop. You even get to go to the market and taste some of the things. And kids get to choose which shop they want to go visit. And they get to come away. Some shops you have a takeaway that you might take with you, like a bula necklace or a leather bracelet that you've made. Others are experiential, where they're going to try practicing their calligraphy. Most kids have never held a quilled pen, right? And try writing their name or doing the stamping with wax, because if you were in Rome and it was an official piece of business, it had to be stamped with the decree from the Roman emperor, right? So just that really hands-on, really immersive experience is just great. And the marketplace is a lot more of a relaxed environment. Nobody was racing through Rome because they were walking, they were, maybe riding on a donkey or something. There was nothing fast about it. So it's literally letting kids and families, if you do it as a multi-generational program, just slowing down a little bit. It's kind of a refreshing moment for those of us in our culture today.
Tell us a little bit about the shopkeepers at these various shops within the marketplace. They're not just leading a craft. They have a role in this setting and creating Rome and bringing it to life.
Absolutely. So every shopkeeper has kind of like a little drama script that they use, where they either know about Jesus and follow Jesus, or they don't. And when the kids come into the shop each day, the shop has a question that they might be asking. And so they're kind of telling a little story along the way. And the kids, by the end of the 5 days, are amazed because some of those shopkeepers become Christ followers. They did not expect that at all. Another favorite thing in Rome is there is an opportunity to add a drama each day. There's that opening worship time, and there is a little drama script available. So kids, again, can just be fully immersed with people telling the story of what happened in the early church.
So let's talk a little bit about how a VBS director would help set this up. Sounds like it requires a lot of people who are actors. Is that true? Is that the kind of volunteer you need for this VBS?
Not necessarily, because Group makes it easy. We have little short scripts that they would use for if you're going to do the drama. The shopkeepers, it's in their leader manual. It tells them what their kind of questions for the day are to weave into natural conversation with kids. So no, you don't need to be an actor or anything like that. I think you're setting up. Do you want to talk about how to set it up physically?
Oh, sure.
So if you're in a one big room, those pop-up tents that if you're a sporting family, baseball, soccer, you need a little sun shelter or rain shelter, you're going to pop those up and use some sheets and blankets to create like little shops. And there's a great video on how easy that is. And that's something that you just borrow from your church people, right? You don't have to buy anything.
Oh, good.
One of the things I love about our Holy Land, it's a lot of more gathering than purchasing things. You can go to the free store or to the Goodwill store. And I'll tell you, one person's trash is a VBS director's treasure. You can find so many things, but literally when my church has done Holy Lands, we put out, a plea for, we need baskets, we need, antique pottery, and it's amazing what will show up. And then you just give it back. Yeah. You don't have to keep it.
From my experience, I feel like churches who do the Holy Land Adventure year after year, they literally look for that and stay with that because it's such a unique theme.
Very.
And they have collected some of these supplies that helps recreate that setting year after year. It's a favorite with a lot of churches. And like I said, one of mine too.
And I think, again, one of the unique things is it doesn't have to be a kid-only VBS. When we field test it, we have kids, parents, grandparents, all of the ages together. Because if you were in Bible times, you don't say, oh, you're not part of the family, because you literally get put into a small group called a family group. And that's how you go through your day or evening at VBS. And so it is all the ages mixed together. Now, I will say that another unique piece is that means there isn't a preschool only component to our Holy Land program. So everybody's together.
Yeah. So let's take a deep dive into the third VBS produced by Group Publishing each year. And that's their weekend VBS for summer 2026. It's Galaxy.
Yes. So 3, 2, 1, blast off. Yes.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about it.
I will. So our weekend VBS program was designed for churches who've maybe never done VBS before, have limited volunteers or resources to do that. And so it's a 2-day 2.5-hour program. So any church can pull this off. And we have a lot of churches that don't have physical space. And so if you need to rent a space because you're not in your space at the school for Sunday morning or whatever, you can literally do Galaxy in one day. And we have lots of churches that do use it that way, just from an efficiency. Yeah. You can do the first session in the morning, have a lunch, and then do your afternoon. It is rotation based. It has elementary and preschool component to it, like our Easy VBS, but it's a smaller step into VBS for people who are just starting out or don't have a lot of resources to do VBS. With only 2.5-hour days, you need less volunteers, less supplies, less space. Anybody can do it.
So what's one of the unique activities we'll find in Galaxy for summer 2026?
Sure. So, of course, we've got immersive Bible learning and games and all that. But something that's really unique is we have a rotation that's called Projects with a Purpose. So instead of just making a craft, kids are going to be doing something that they are going to then pass on to somebody else. They don't get to keep it. That's really different, like making a VBS craft and keeping it, or doing Imagination Station. But this is something that they're going to bless somebody else with. And this year in Galaxy, one of the projects is making birthday bags for the local food shelf. At our field test, even the preschoolers, every kid understands their birthday. And how cool is it to decorate a bag that then they're putting a cake mix and frosting and all these things and praying over them. And then they're going to a local food shelf. Super powerful. So I love Projects with a Purpose. It helps kids really think beyond themselves and think of others, which that's never too early to start that.
I love the spirit of generosity.
Absolutely.
Of compassion, of understanding the needs of others through that Projects with a Purpose. I love that. So Sharon, I've known Group Publishing to be, in my mind, one of the top innovators in VBS programming, because it's not just like every other VBS. Group brings in some very unique elements to VBS programming for kids and for churches. When I say innovation to you, what do you think of about Group's VBS programming?
Well, one of the first thing that comes to my mind is that we were the VBS provider that innovated the entire rotation model that many publishers use today. That was more than 30 years ago. Instead of having a teacher teach the Bible, the games, the crafts, you had to do it all. We revolutionized by creating a rotation-based model where people can teach out of their giftedness, which is biblical. Use your strengths that you have to teach. And so that's one thing that I think, we literally revolutionized how VBS happens back then. And I think, too, is another thing that drew me into Group as a brand new out of college and seminary leading in church was I met somebody from Group, and just the conversations that I had with that person. And over the years, I really feel like I have a trusted partner, a ministry friend that's there with me no matter what's going on. It's that relationship. I value that they value feedback from people who are on the front lines of ministry. I think that when a VBS director or a children's pastor can share a pain point or oh, I wish there was this, we listen to that. We do focus groups across the country to help really shape what our VBS directors and children's pastors need and are looking for. And I think that's really unique.
I do too. Well, Sharon, you've taken us through from the how-tos as a brand new VBS director to some of the hot tips that any director needs to know. And then we broke down the 3 VBS programs from group publishing for summer 2026. And thanks for coming and training our team here at Concordia Supply. I shared that Sharon is a lot of things at group publishing, but also to you out there, you know her face from the training videos, you know her from the fun shops, but we can also say she's a friend of Concordia Supply. It's been a long-term relationship with Sharon and with group publishing. And God bless you and all the work that you and your team are doing. Keep up the good work. We love you.
Thank you. We are better together.
We are.